My favorite tree is the copper beech. When the sun is shining at this time of the year on the copper beech leaves, it shears into a purple color that is absolutely wonderful. The skin of the beech is like an elephant. It's the same look and has the same feel. And the copper beech is an ancient tree, and it's a mighty tree. It stands there in defiance of all of nature around it, with its great, beautiful purple skirt.
I actually have two favorite trees. My favorite West Coast tree is the Douglas fir because they are so magnificent and tall, and I love the bark. It's very rough and deep. I also like the hickory tree because the hickory tree is a very tough tree and a very resilient tree and a strong wood. And being a kind of a small guy, I like to associate myself with a tough hickory tree. And coming from Appalachia, it's something that I resonate with in the mountains.
The most beautiful tree in the world is the Japanese maple. The most important tree in the world for human evolution is the African acacia. It's the one our pre-human ancestors lived among and could run through and climb up easily because of its low horizontal branches.
I grew greatly attached to ponderosa pine with my time out west. But I also really enjoy a couple of trees that are just either beautiful year-round or beautiful certain times of the year, right? So dogwood, to me, that's my bellwether go-to tree. I have this tree, these trees in my area where I go for a walk every day. So through the seasons, I kind of see, where's the dogwood at now? And then holly. Holly is the other one, that is just sort of this persistent presence, that whole thing about evergreen and sort of the memories you get when you think about, this prickly tree that, is pretty much there all the time.
I actually like weeping willows. I like the grace and the flow. I don't like the name because weeping makes it sound like it's a sad tree, and I just find it a graceful tree.
The big trees really get me. I'm obsessed with the 6 tallest species, the only species that can reach 300 feet. And I'm obsessed with the stature of them, mostly because of this perspective it gives me on my importance, which is trivial compared to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
You get a sense of grandeur in a tree.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most perfect specimen.
Really?
Look at it. 109 meter tall redwood. One of the tallest trees in this whole area. Perfect tree. Right next to the creek. What more could you ask for?
Damn. It is amazing.
You don't really see many places like this. And hardly anybody even comes here anymore. Because the trail is obviously not used.
Right.
I don't know. I just think this is a really special spot. And I've only seen it in the last couple of years. I've never been in here before. I just think there's something about it. And this tree in particular. It's just a stunner.
I love my Palo Verde. I have one in my yard, as a matter of fact, and I have to say that Palo Verdes they just are fantastic. They have green trunks that photosynthesize. They have beautiful yellow flowers. They have a gorgeous spreading crown. They get to be a beautiful small shade tree. So I love Palo Verdes. I guess that'll be my favorite for today.
Oh, it's the white oak, by far. A white oak, every tree species they have their own genetics, but when you see a white oak that has really good genetics, it's beautiful. And I've seen white oaks that have 50 foot limbs. They're just amazing. The stature's fantastic. It's definitely to me, all trees are 4-season trees, but for the average person, it's got the fall color and that silver bark and just a very beautiful silhouette. It's definitely my favorite tree. And they live a long time, so it's kind of the epitome of a legacy.
Well, I like beech trees a real lot. I really like beech trees, and they're under attack here, so it's a little bit upsetting. But they seem really, they've got a certain look and a presence, let's say. American beech, the smooth bark type beech. They're up on the hillside. If it weren't raining today. My daughter is a forester. Went to forestry school. She doesn't remember telling me this, but she told me that I have a stand of trees. They're actually joined together, a beech grove. Those trees are all interlocked, and I sometimes can really feel that when I'm cutting firewood, say. I feel like the tree over there is aware that I'm cutting this tree. I don't feel like it's looking at me or judging me or anything like that. But I really feel I have felt that for a long time, and I was not surprised to learn that they are interlocked.
You know, people ask me that, and it sort of changes from day to day. But I love the simple things. I just love the red oak tree. I love the red oak tree in the fall, with its metallic red sheen, sort of in the wind. We have just a couple down the street from us, and I'm also kind of a fan of the funky cucumber magnolia. Don't know why. It's just an unusual tree. We have one in our yard, and we planted it, but we're looking forward to the day when it gives us lots of shade and makes our home a better place.
I have a lot of favorite trees. It's kind of like saying, you know, pick a favorite kid. There was this American elm across the street from where we grew up, and I tried so hard as a kid to climb that tree. Have you ever tried to climb an American elm? Yeah, forget it, does not work. I was mystified by this. I kept hearing about the joys of tree climbing, and the only trees around were these, you know, big old elms. So that didn't work. Still loved that tree. There was one apartment I had that I woke up one morning and was like, what is that? And it turned out that hidden behind my apartment was this grapefruit tree. And this grapefruit tree was in bloom, and oh my God, the scent, it was just, And then there are ginkgos. I had a view from our bedroom once of ginkgos, and there's that fall morning where they turn completely gold overnight all at once. It's just astounding. And white pines coming up over the canopy and spreading, they're just so, do I have a favorite tree? Not in the singular, no.
Ooh, wow. Well, my favorite trees are large trees. And, but, you know, I would say every tree has its beauty. Every tree is a personality that is wonderful in its own way. It may be the flower, it may be the fruit, maybe the wildlife that it attracts. I planted a mesquite tree when I lived in Tucson, planted 5 of them. One of them was along the road, the others were in the front yard. One along the road got ran over. I said, should I just pull this tree out? Nah, no. Cut off the top, grew back, got ran over again. The others are getting to be, you know, nice trees. It's this little kind of a short, stumpy little tree. And then, you know, I went back there 15 years later and it was bigger than all the other trees. So you never know. You know, you can have kind of the ugly duckling tree, but that tree can end up being, you know, an incredibly beautiful, wonderful thing. And so every tree is unique and beautiful in its own way, I think.
I did. The one in my side yard was a chinaberry that was very easy to climb, and I loved that. But down in the junkyard was a red maple that was considered my tree. So each of us had a tree. My brothers and I were doorstep kids raised together, and they each had a tree that they belonged to, and I had a tree that I belonged to. And so it meant I could be in the tree and nobody else, if I didn't want anybody else in the tree with me, they didn't have to be there. So yeah, we laid boards in it and made little forts and got up there to read.
Well, because I love different ones for different things, right? But I guess I would say, you know, my favorite tree around here in the mid-Atlantic is the tulip tree. You know, it has very characteristic leaf shape. You can pick it out really easily. It's a big, tall tree. But in the late spring, it drops these flowers, which are sort of faintly tulip-like, you know, and they've got orange in them and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, you know, the forest floor or the place where I go running has got tulip tree flowers on it. And I just, you know, I like that a lot. I know what it is. It's pretty, right? It's a signal of the time of year.
I think it's probably the magnolia. I love the branching structure of magnolias, and I wish they didn't sort of burn out quite as quickly. They come out in the spring and just have this spectacular period of blooming like mad. But I like that, the exuberant quality that they have. But even during the winter, I just love the branching structure. It's so elegant and beautiful. Interestingly enough, there's work suggesting we tend to like, as a species, we like two kinds of trees. The trees in the savanna and the trees we grew up with.
A favorite tree. I can't pick just one. So aspen, I love aspen, the feathery, light nature. And then the redwoods, both the coast redwood, that's where I went and got my undergraduate degree. Just phenomenal. And the giant sequoias in the Sierras. And then I guess my last one are the bristlecone pines, just for their sheer age and resilience to be able to live to 5,000 years.
My favorite tree as in this family is my wife's favorite tree, and that's Franklinia. So we have domestic tranquility, and we have a unified front.
I think my favorite tree is actually a tree that's now extinct in the wild, but is grown in propagation, and that's the Franklin tree. And Franklinia was collected first in 1765 by Billy Bartram and his father, John Bartram, who was then the botanist to King George III. The trees have almost camellia-like blossoms and big sort of wedge-shaped leaves that turn a bronzy red in the fall. And Franklinia is named after their friend Ben Franklin. It's not known why it went extinct. But it's sort of a symbol of the biodiversity of the Southeast and the, I think, need for preserving what wild areas we have left to conserve that biodiversity.
Well, I have to be careful. When people ask me, do I have a favorite forest or grassland, or do I have a favorite tree? It would be a long list. It would depend where I'm at, in the country. There's no question about the redwoods. There's no, the sequoias that we have. The sugar pine, some of the grand trees. But even back east here, and some of the hardwoods that we have. What I'd really like to be able to say, and I believe in our future generations, that people will say their favorite tree is the American chestnut. a tree that has been lost from our eastern landscapes because of a disease. But our research is getting so close today that we're optimistic that in a few years we'll be able to start replanting American chestnuts across our eastern forests. So that's one hope that I would have, that maybe a future generation could say their favorite tree is the chestnut.